Hey, what is up, guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at Sumail beats down the mid lane. This was a crazy performance. You think I'm kidding? Look at the net worth. This is the mid Kunga. This is Sumail. Now you might be like, oh, but Sumail, he got first blood. Is first blood worth 1,200 gold, guys? Is it worth 1,200 gold? Now you might be saying, oh, it's not worth 1,200 gold, but it helps you snowball the lane. It doesn't matter. His performance in this lane is very profound. It's extremely well executed. He even had blink at level 1, which is definitely not what you would take normally in this matchup, so his first blood didn't give him that much of an advantage. And he goes for a really cool item build. He goes Linken's into Yule's into Kaya-Sange with a very delayed shard timing. An extremely defensive item build. Quite cool what he actually did. I think he almost saw himself as a pseudo-initiator, as they lack an initiator this game. So his item build really kind of fit the game extremely well in a very cool way. And I think that's what these pros can do effectively. Where when most players try to innovate, yes, I'm talking about you, when you try to innovate, you come up with some Deso Daedalus Ricky build, and you have 1100 HP 30 minutes into the game. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. So one thing to note about this laning stage right off the bat is it actually does get blocked under tower. On top of that, he goes for an item build that I wouldn't necessarily have expected. So he did start the game with this mantle. Basically, if you guys don't play mid lane, even if you do, the most common build is 3 Iron Branches, Fairy Fire Tangos, no mantle, right? And here, he actually goes for a starting mantle, clearly looking to amp his damage a bit. I mean, all it really gives you over a branch is actually 1 less strength, 1 less agi, which is definitely something, and 2 more damage, which I guess he feels like matters? I don't know. To me, it feels like mostly an intuition thing. But after the first blood, he does actually ship out an early circlet, so completely doubling down on the stats. And this does matter, right? 4 damage is something. It is notable, especially at a high level. It does matter. If you're good at last hitting, these, slight damage buffs really can be the difference between getting the CS or not. But either way, he does have to play the first wave under tower, which somehow he manages to get the majority of the CS, almost every single one, except for the range creep, which, it happens. But fantastic first wave. And I will admit, guys, I'm going to keep it very real. If you're trying to get to the top level, you have to be brutally critical. I'm going to let this play out on your CS. Right? It's just how it is. If you don't get frustrated because you have bad early waves, you have a problem. And I don't mean crying, right, if you miss some early CS, but these top players, they abuse the item timings that they get so well that it really does change the lane. Now, in terms of gameplay, let's take a look at it. So one thing to notice, he doesn't push past the wave. He has blink. You don't do anything crazy as a ranged hero early on. Most people overtrade. The only time you should be attacking is generally in a situation that is going to pull advantageous creep aggro and, hit the enemy, right? So as he hits him here, it pulls the wave back, which is really nice. He gets 2 autos in, and when he gets 2 autos in, he then de-aggros, right? I'll show you what I mean. He then de-aggros right here. He's gonna right-click on the creep, and that's going to de-aggro. And then on top of that, he's going to move to the side to try to dodge Tidebringer, right? Which doesn't end up happening, but he hits level 2. That's going to set up for an obvious dagger. Nothing crazy there. Side steps, almost gets the CS. Was close, but not a crazy first wave. And Quap, or any range hero against melee heroes should not dominate the early waves. You're not going to 1v9 in the lane at level 1 unless your opponent sucks and they run up to your range creep, in which case you should bully them off the range creep. But either way, he's not going to, once again, dominate these early waves. He's going to do okay. But the big thing here is because of this first blood and because Nigma got a bunch of bounty earners. I think they got 3 if I'm not mistaken. And he has really good CS. You might be like, oh, 7 at 137 isn't that good. It's not insane, but it's solid, right? It's quite good. You can see he's definitely above the Kunkka, which is quite notable considering he's a ranged hero. Once again, it's a big difference. You can't buy Quelling Blade, obviously. I mean, you can, but it's not that good. And so that is really huge. Now, on top of that, a big thing that I've been learning is blocking or staticking the wave is a big deal in the mid lane. Now, here, you're going to see he isn't actually going to static. And the reason why, in my opinion, is these creeps are too high on HP and he doesn't have a creep secure. So 50-50 in the creeps would not be that good. On top of that, because these creeps are so high on HP, they actually will static the wave for long enough where it's practically an effective block. If you don't understand what I'm saying, basically the 2 creeps that he has to last it were relatively high HP going under the tower. This buys enough time where the wave then statics on the high ground. This is really optimal because now with the level 2 dagger, even though he actually kind of messed up there, he got torrented in a creep wave. Really nice play from the Kunkka actually. Like really good play from Kunkka, super high skill stuff. Regardless of that fact, he's now able to play a wave on his high ground and punish the Kunkka. You can see at this point in the lane, he understands he has a regen advantage because he is frankly just dominating the Kunkka on CS. There's no other way to put it. He got the first blood. 2 CS up is quite a big deal. It might not seem like it, but it is. And as a result, he's able to now punish his Kunkka with another dagger coming up in a moment. He understands bottle advantage and level 2 dagger advantage. An even trade is a favorable trade. Sumail perfectly understands this. As a result, he's able to now blink away from the wave. He has to auto attack a bit here. You don't want a double wave because then if you have a double wave, what happens is that if you try to trade, you're going to take too much damage. So he tries to even it out as much as he can before having to go for denies. Then Kunkka kind of throws out a shitty torrent. Not gonna lie, that just was not that great. Looks for another level 2 dagger. Did that cancel a salve? Whew. My heart would have been broken for Kunkka if he got a salve canceled there. But yeah, now the lane, I mean, it's not over, but he has a double wave coming into his tower with already a 4 CS advantage. And yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where sometimes it's hard to say why these players are so good because I don't really understand why Kunkka's CS is so low. Obviously, it's partially because Sumail does have this first blood advantage, which I mentioned, but it's not something that drastic. It kind of just felt like he just was better at last hitting. His movement was good. His dagger was good. He never overextended, right? Note that Sumail has never walked onto his high ground. He's never walked through the creep wave to hit him outside of the one time where he got bottle earlier. And that's a big thing to note, right? You can't always play this aggressive. It's obviously situational to some extent. That's why Dota's such a snowbally game. A good first 2 waves matters so much. If you lose your early waves to a good player, they're gonna make you feel it, especially if you have a suboptimal matchup. Like Quap Kunkka, I wouldn't say it's that bad for Kunkka, but it's not good. And yeah, Sumail really makes him feel it. One thing that I thought was really high skill as well is Sumail read that the Kunkka would be killing the small camp, and so he wants to contest the aggressive bounty. What I mean by that is this bounty. He kills this range creep, this melee creep as fast as he can, so he hits level 5. That's a key timing, right? Level 5, you upgrade your Scream of Pain or your Shadow Strike if you're owning. And now he's going to contest this rune because the natural rotation from Kunkka is farm this, go here. Kunkka, being the good player that he is, understands Sumail is going to do this and books it for the other one. But this isn't that great for the Kunkka anyway, right? It's still, even though it's a good play by Kunkka, it's not optimal for him because now he's going to get level 3 daggered and you can't trade into level 3 dagger. It's not even close. The heal is too significant. You're healing for, what is it, 30 per tick? It's doing 60 damage per tick. It's a stupid strong ability if you max it. And this is, anytime you're against a melee hero as Quap, if you do well early on, you should put a lot of points in dagger just to double down on the lane. And he's even blinking onto the high ground. This is obviously a bit of a psychotic play, but in this case, with the advantage he has, it works. So much stats, no boots, right? Doubling down on right click. So he wants to right click as hard as possible when he blinks in with the dagger. And yeah, it's a disaster for the Kunkka. He does not have much of a game at this point. And yeah, one thing to note that Sumail does here is he doesn't skill his ulti. And the reason why he does this is because basically you don't really have mana. Like you don't. You really don't. So you don't want to skill your ulti for the most part. To be fair, maybe it could have gotten him a kill here. Probably not. He would have died. He still would have died. So it wouldn't have mattered. But the thing is, you just don't have mana, and the E doubles in damage, so it's really nice to get the second point in it whenever you do get it. And so yeah, this is like a very, very common skill build on Quap. A lot of people just grief. They skill their ulti, they have like no mana, and then they can't even farm. It can feel really bad. And you can see, even at level 7, he takes another point in Scream, completely doubling down on this concept. So next up, he ends up buying a Ring of Health, which is kind of wild. I think it's largely due to the fact that, number one, he's buying Linken's this game for pretty clear reasons. It's good against Curse, it's good against Lasso. Lasso probably being the biggest one. It's good against Marcy Q, it's good against Kunkka X. Every single one of their stuns is single target. And yeah, it basically just makes him like invincible, kind of, right? So crazy clip here. This isn't much of an outplay because his blink was down. It's a good play from EU, but oh my god, mind control with the ulti. This is the Dawnbreaker effect. It just kind of lets heroes like Quap just play crazy. And yeah, it's just huge. Either way, as we continue on, why Ring of Health? It's partially for the Linken's, as we mentioned, but it's also because he's against Kunkka. If you have to lane mid, oh, he gets the rune. He end up dying here. It's partially for the Lincolns, but it's also against Kunkka. If you get Tidebringered off cooldown, it's like really hard to lane. It's sort of like laning against Ember Spirit with max sleight. You kind of just get chipped down, and so the Ring of Health is an interesting way to sort of deal with this in the early game. Also note that he does slow down the pace of the game. He doesn't go that crazy. He is going to look to jungle and actually primarily look to amp his own game. Even with ulti up, he is paying attention to the side lanes. You can see he quickly checks the HP of the Kunkka, he checks the HP of the top heroes. He's a very observant player, and it's something I know that even for a fact that I don't do very well. I'll keep it really honest with you guys. I know for a fact that me as a mid laner, I have a lot of work to do when it comes to my awareness of the side lanes, and it's a real ability, it really is. Because not only do you have to be able to look at the side lanes, you have to not get baited by heroes that simply just aren't that low on HP. We are going to see a little bit of a smoke play come out here for pretty obvious reasons. Really the main reason why he's doing this is he has ult. You do want to try to get active. The main concept of Quap, to keep this hero very simple before we move on to his mid to late game gameplay, is when you have ulti, you fight. When you don't, you look to push in mid and only respond to very favorable engagements. And favorable engagements are usually like tower dives or severe spell advantages. Maybe the enemy team just used all their ultis. Okay, you can force a fight even if you don't have ulti. All right, and finally with the Lincoln's timing here, we're going to see a beautiful team fight from Sumail. Some really well-calculated aggression is kind of what enables him so well in this team fight. A couple things to note as well is he actually doesn't take his talent at 10, which is kind of crazy because Quap has really good talents. The 11 strength talent is a very popular talent, giving you 220 strength. It's extremely good, but he clearly thinks that maxing out the blink is better, which is kind of reasonable. Getting it down to 6 seconds really does feel significant. If you guys play Quap or any hero with blink, you'll know that every 2-second increase when you skill the ability really matters. And we're going to see it kind of even play out here. He's going to blink to the top side of the fight. If you only had 1 point in blink, which you wouldn't anyway at level 13, but if he had only 1 point in blink, he would have to be hesitant in using it just to move around the map. Because if a fight broke out, you just wouldn't have it. But either way, we're going to see a nice ulti in, right? Just trying to burst down the Wyvern, get him out of the fight. It's a nice 2-man ulti, and it's good to do this for a multitude of reasons. Number one, you kind of want to burst supports this Quap. You just want to take them out of the fight, prevent their damage from chipping you down and putting you in kill range from a core. On top of that, really what I love from this fight is his decision to blink forward here. This I thought was really cool. I'm like, what? Why did he blink forward? Was that a misclick? Because you almost never see this, right? Anytime a Quap blinks defensively, it's almost always backwards for clear reasons. You don't want to die, but the enemy heroes don't have chase capability. It's like, this is some crazy intuition, man. You know, there's a lot of things I like to teach, and I feel like I can teach, but stuff like this, teaching plays like this, man, is not easy. Like, it's almost beautiful because it shows how advanced, I don't know, the human mind can get. I don't know if this sounds weird and really odd, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Essentially, the idea is that he had to kind of just understand that the 2 main chase heroes are dead. It's very hard for them to have vision here because the most common play that almost everyone would make here is to blink back. They would, but he blinks forward, and I don't know, that's just so cool to me. And it really ends up working out. The bristleback, I will say, probably should have chased him. I don't think it would have changed much, to be honest, because he would have gotten blocked and unable to hit Sumail. But either way, he's able to man up. Really nice synergy from Miracle. Miracle also understands what Sumail is doing. Now he's able to pop his regen rune and eventually chase down the bristleback. So yeah, just an incredibly good fight. Overall, just super well done from Sumail. And you can see the effectiveness of his build. He's not afraid to blink forward. He's not afraid to go in. And so I think his blink usage also makes a lot of sense with his item build. On top of that, note that he doesn't even take the level 10 talent until level 16. He actually took 30 attack speed at 15, dagger at 14, and the 11 strength at 16. So not something you would expect, but I do really like the max dagger. I always find it weird when pros don't max it out, only because the 4 seconds is very notable. It really is a huge increase, right? It's a 50% increase from 8 to 4 seconds. It's super notable. In fact, in terms of percentage-based increases, it's the biggest buff of the ability. Obviously, it's a bit weird to look at it like that, but it does play out that way. And we'll see in this fight here, he's just so strong. DD Quap with a defensive Lincoln's timing when you're snowballing is one of the most devastating heroes in the game. And yeah, it's an easy fight. In this upcoming fight here, we're also just going to see really good decision making. It's a bit of a psychotic blink, but once again, his build enables this. And this is where these pros are just a step ahead of most players. They kind of just understand what they can and cannot do based on matchups. And killing off this Wyvern is obviously a huge kill. It's one of the most impactful supports in the mid to late game. You're not really picking Wyvern for its laning prowess for the most part. You're picking it for its capability in the mid to late game. So he takes him out, doesn't have to overcommit, gets X, but he's completely fine. He's quite tanky at this point in the game, right? So he's able to not panic even here. And once again, this is because he understands like his threats. He knows his main threat is Lasso, which is not in position to go on him here, and maybe Curse with Lincoln's down right next to the Monkey King, which I guess theoretically could have come out. So he does defensively blink here because, you know, Curse and Lasso were actually still up. So he just waits though, because he understands that both the heroes are not in proper cast range. So he even could have potentially baited them in with his positioning there. But he gets salved, which is interesting. But he gets salved and he understands that Batrider simply does not have a defensive option up. This guy is mega poor, and so he doesn't have BKB. Otherwise, this would be probably a bad blink in. It could potentially get him lassoed. Even though the Kunkka's dead, it could set up for a throw play, but the Boundless Strike comes in for Miracle. They all understand that he does not have Lincoln's, holds the ult because he's definitely dead, and it's an easy, easy fight. So yeah, just beautifully done from Enigma Galaxy. And so I just think that Sumail, hopefully you can kind of learn from his decision making here and his item build. I would say in general, Quap isn't the most popular of heroes right now, but it doesn't matter, right? You can see if you understand like certain matchups, for instance, if you pick this in Ember Spirit, Void Spirit, even if you played against something like Puck, who's notoriously good against Quap, it doesn't really matter. If you can learn to, you know, bait out the phase shift with your dagger, which is frankly not that hard to do because, you know, Puck has to kind of guess, you don't. You can kind of just keep faking it till he feels like you're going to throw it. As long as you go relatively close to the puck, you can win matchups like this as well, as we see another dominant fight. But alright, that's going to be about all for today's video. He ends up going Kai Assange into Shard. I honestly thought it was quite weird that he delayed the Shard by so much. It seems to me that he just thinks that it's more about becoming survivable and unkillable, less than it is about being able to blink in and silence. Even though a situation like here, it would be nice to silence the Batrider, it doesn't really matter, I guess. And he wasn't really playing the split push either, which is one of the big advantages of the Shard. It basically enables you to one-shot creep waves by either blinking in place or blinking into the wave with your level 20 Scream talent. But that never really came into play this game, so he didn't have to itemize that way. Once again, everything just kind of coming together for Sumail as they win another team fight. At this point, he's just kind of going in and killing everyone. But alright, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.